Well, this has been making the rounds lately, hasn't it? Technically, I'm breaking my rule of doing a series in order, aren't I? But this is a non-generational game, so I think I can bend that rule just this one time. I opted to go with PokemonLet'sGoPikachu since, well, I like Pikachu more than Eevee. I must admit, when it comes to Pokemon, I have a bit of a loose history with it. I played Generation 1 when it first came out, then played Generation 2, then kind of fell out of love with the series, then recently got back into it. I watched the anime when I was a kid, and I stopped watching it when it became abundantly clear that Ash's story was never going to end. Pokemon is mainly a victim of nostalgia baiting. When you have a series that has run as long as Pokemon, that's inevitable. But Pokemon has never been able to shake off the Generation 1 nostalgia. No matter how many generations of Pokemon we get, Generation 1 Pokemon will always be present in some form. So, for the first entry for the Nintendo Switch, we get what is essentially a remake of Pokemon Yellow, or quasi-sequel. I was a little confused by that. So, the story, well, I'll give you a spoiler account here if you want to get past that. Professor Oak gives the usual introduction, and it's time to name yourself and your rival. I thought this was a remake, so I named my characters Red and Blue. But then, later on, Blue shows up in the flesh, which meant, oops. I basically named my two characters after two already established characters. Apparently, their canonical names are Chase and Trace. I didn't know! I thought it was a remake! I mean, that's the confusing thing, because story-wise, this game follows the original beat for beat. You go beat the gym leaders to get badges, and you have to stop Team Rocket along the way. Although I did smile when Jesse and James showed up. One of the most lovable groups of villains in all of animation. They're incompetently stupid, but that's why I love them. There's not really a whole lot to say about the story since it's basically just a copy of Generation 1, and I'd rather save my thoughts in full for whenever I decide to review Generation 1. See, the thing about Blue showing up in the story was that it made it seem like the game was a sequel to the original games, but in those games, Team Rocket was defeated by Red, but here Giovanni is happily going around trying to do the Team Rocket conquer the world thing, as if that never happened. I did some digging. Apparently this game is considered an alternate universe, of which the Pokemon has had several of. Yeah, I looked at the Pokemon Wiki. Alternate universes are a thing in the Pokemon timeline. I didn't know Pokemon continuity was so convoluted. Unfortunately, one fault I must find in the game is that there is no significant character development. Trace is just there. He's just your rival. That's it. He's already on friendly terms with you. It is kinda cool to have someone from the old generation as a mentor, which is something I've always felt the Pokemon anime should have had happen with Ash, but I suppose they can't do that because getting rid of Ash means getting rid of Pikachu. The graphics look nice and crisp and colorful. The game runs perfectly fine. I did play a little bit in handheld mode, and the game runs perfectly fine there. What really stands out to me are the character models. They definitely upgrade them, and they feel much more expressive as a result. The Pokemon look as adorable as ever. It's the Kanto region, so the world feels alive as it ever did. I love going to towns to relax. It's so peaceful. You need a break from all that madness. I do enjoy playing with Pikachu. You're adorable, I must admit. But anyway, as for the game itself, it's Pokemon. You run around and you catch Pokemon. One of the additions I like is that you can now see the Pokemon coming out of the woods, so you know which one you might want to catch. No more of that random encounter stuff like the RPGs of old. What's new to the game is the throwing mechanic. You have to use the Joy-Cons, which is not really something I like doing. I like my Pro Controller. But as time went on, I got used to the motion controls. It was kind of annoying for a while because the Pokemon constantly jump around from left to right, which meant I had to throw from left to right, which took some practice. Of course, sometimes my throws would be weak and pitiful, and I would waste many Pokeballs, and sometimes the Pokemon would just run away. Yeah, thanks, Clefairy. Then comes the next part. Battling Pokemon trainers. Of course, with battling Pokemon trainers, I'm just going about my way to the gyms, or whatever the next part of the story is, when... Oh, that's just beautiful. I was just minding my own business when, BAM! I have to fight you in a Pokemon battle. Which is just classic Pokemon. But you need to do it because you need to level up. The trainers get progressively harder as you continue to go through the game, which is a natural sense of progression. It isn't until I fought Blue that things started to get hard because he has a Pokemon that deliberately is stronger than your Pikachu. Maybe Eevee players had an easier time, I don't know. but I had to go around and level up for a while before coming back to deal with him. One thing I noticed about getting to the gym leaders is that you must meet certain requirements this time around. For example, you need to have a Pokemon at level 15 to be able to challenge Misty, which is fair. Misty nearly killed me with some of her attacks. Now that just doesn't happen in Pokemon. One thing I didn't take to doing was catching multiple Pokemon. I just assumed that getting one of each was enough, but apparently, like in Pokemon Go, you get rewards for getting the same Pokemon, and you need to do this in order to power up the ones you have. You need a total of 30, 50, and 60 Pokemon in order to get Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. So I got 51 Pokemon registered in my Pokedex and went to get Charmander, but oh no, turns out that didn't count. I needed 50 total Pokemon in my party, including duplicates, so I had to go and grind to get more Pokemon. What I do like is that you now have an unlimited Pokemon box, which means I don't have to go to the Pokemon Center to take out what Pokemon I may need. There is a daycare which can level your Pokemon up, but you can only put one Pokemon in there at a time, which is really unfortunate. Well, speaking of, I did get Mew through the Pokeball Plus, something I tried to use but quickly gave up because of how annoying it was to control, and the lack of buttons really hurt it too. I suppose I should mention the Pokemon Go connectivity, but to be honest, I haven't played Pokemon Go in a long time, so I can't speak about that as much as I would like to, but I understand why it was done. There are a lot of new players introduced to Pokemon through Pokemon Go, so it makes sense that this was done to get new players into playing the series. Nintendo needs to attract younger gamers into playing their franchises so this feels accessible to them. There is a sense of backtracking involved. For example, when you go up Lavender Tower, you can't hit the ghost or you will be sent back. You have to go fight Team Rocket again and get the Sliff Scope, and only then can you see the Pokemon ghosts. Just classic backtracking. Go forward until you get to a certain point and then boom, your progression is halted. Oh well. With that done, it's time to talk about the Pokemon League. So skip to this time if you don't want to be spoiled. So you go to Victory Road and you find all these rare Pokemon that I haven't seen all game. But now I challenge the first of the Elite Four, Lorelei. She's mostly water-based, so I beat her pretty easily with Pikachu. Bruno is a fighting Pokemon trainer, which means water Pokemon is the way to go. I like to keep my main team balanced with all elements. Agatha is a poison and ghost type Pokemon trainer, while with Pikachu and Charizard I managed to get past her despite losing a few Pokemon. So now that leaves Lance, who has Dragonite and all kinds of dragon type Pokemon. I actually got killed by his Gyarados, but fortunately I had a lot of Hyper Potions on hand. So I beat all of the Elite Four, but not Blue got there before I did, so I have to beat him again. We took turns taking out each other's Pokemon. Unfortunately some of mine were at lower levels, but I managed to adapt. And with that, the title of Pokemon Champion was mine. It doesn't have the same feeling it usually does. Maybe because I didn't particularly care for Trace. But there's still more to do. Got some legendary Pokemon to begin hunting. Capturing Zapdos wasn't too bad. Articuno was just hit him with some water attacks, and Moltres, well, he took a few tries. But all that was practice, because now it's time to go after Mewtwo, and he's tough. He can one-shot your Pokemon very easily. The only way I was able to beat him was by being able to hit him with the right attacks and hoping he didn't use Psychic. Then you have to catch him, and he's the toughest Pokemon to catch in the entire game. But this is why you save the Master Ball. I was worried I had missed the throw, but fortunately the Master Ball makes the shot no matter what. Of course, they're still fighting the three Master Trainers. I was able to defeat Green and Blue eventually, but to fight Red you have to defeat 6 Master Trainers who all use one specific Pokemon. Not an easy task. So Pokemon Let's Go is alright. It's an introduction for newer players. I don't think of it as the ruiner of the franchise. Pokemon has proven itself to be able to stand the test of time, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Now I need to get to work on decoding the continuity. Apparently Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are in an alternate dimension than Sun and Moon, or am I reading this wrong? How come nobody in Pokemon ever seems to have dads, they only have moms? Do Pokemon actually enjoy being in Pokeballs, or are they trapped inside? Questions, questions, questions. And ones I don't have time for right now. Back to Smash. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, hit that bell, subscribe, and like button. It really helps me out.